Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the, I think, fourth episode of the Pizza Holics podcast. I'm Ron, Pizzaholic. So let's see, it's been a couple weeks since I've been on. Kind of a crazy time right now, things going on. Everybody knows the virus and all that goes with it. So it's been a little hectic, been a little busy. I don't have any guests tonight, so it's going to be a short one. Can only talk so long. But I haven't been on doing a podcast in a while. I relocated all my equipment. I did a test run last night with a Facebook Live. Seemed to work pretty well. So I figured I'd come down tonight. I moved everything from my living room, which was in the way, down to the basement now, where I have some space and some quiet, a little easier, a little quieter to do the podcast. So let's see what's been going on. I believe since the last podcast, I've gone to a couple new places. The favorite of those places has to have to be Milestone in Thomaston, Connecticut. I don't know if the last podcast, I think we may have mentioned that in the last podcast, but if not, it's still up there. It's my favorite new place that I've been to in a while. So that being said, the world right now we're in is kind of hectic and crazy. So getting pizza and trying new places is a little difficult. A lot of places aren't open anymore. Currently, as I record this, it's Friday evening. And been a crazy day. New York, seems like California, Illinois have all basically shut down everything but essential services. I think Connecticut is doing that as well, where I'm at. I think they're allowing pizza places that to do delivery and takeout to remain open, as far as I understand. So that'll be good. But there's some places around here, like for example, I believe Sally's, which is one of the quote unquote Holy Grail places or Mount Rushmore places of pizza. And sorry about that. I thought I had that off. So they're not even open. They decided to stay closed. So it's a little tricky, but we'll get through. I'm sure we're all gonna do just fine in the end. Might take some time to bounce back and come back and whatnot from everything, but here we are. This is us. This is what we're doing. I've been following the story closely. I'm kind of like a history geek, so to speak, and I feel like we're living through something right now that's going to be talked about for a century. I mean, we're dating back. The last time something like this happened was the Spanish flu, back in 1918 through 1920. So 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago, and that's what we're recalling back to. And I don't think there's too many people even alive that are alive now to go through that. And if they are, they're one of those people that are very vulnerable to this new COVID-19 virus. And whether you believe that it's a fake thing, or media blown up, or taking it out of proportion, or they're not doing enough, or whatever. I'm not really trying to get into it too much here, but I gotta talk about it a little bit because it's affecting everything. Are they blowing it out of proportion? Maybe. Are they making it out to be worse than it is? Maybe. But if it's your grandmother or grandfather or mother or father who gets saved by the quote unquote overreaction, if there is an overreaction, then I'm sure you're gonna say it was worth it. I know if it's my grandmother and my grandfather, and their lives get saved because of the overreaction, and I'm gonna say right now, to me, that's 100% worth it and justified. So I'll leave it at that. So we're doing our parts, and everybody's doing the social distancing. So I've been doing a lot more Facebook Lives, and I'm gonna do tomorrow night. I'm gonna do some Facebook Lives and some videos for YouTube, for the YouTube channel as well. We got Uni was nice enough to send us an oven to one of their newer ovens to test out. Unfortunately, the day after I got it, I required surgery, so I have not been able to try it out. And I was down for account for a few weeks, and then catching up with life, such as it goes. When you're down for a couple weeks, you don't get to do a whole lot, and then when you start getting back into things, you got to make up for lost time and catch up on things you missed on. So I got a friend coming over, and we're going to fire it up and see how it goes. Who knows? It might be an awesome oven. It might be horrible. This is going to be the first time that we're going to give an honest, not that we don't, but we're going to do an honest review. Typically, when it comes to pizza places, if we don't like the place, then typically we just don't review it. We don't ever even admit we were there. But in this case, we're going to, because this isn't a place, it's a product, and I don't want people spend, $300 and plus on a product and feel like they wasted their money. So we're going to be honest about it, and we're going to go forward, and if we don't like it, we'll say it. If we do like it, we'll say it, and we'll do pros and cons. We both of us who are going to be doing the review have our own pizza ovens in our backyards. Mine's a manufactured one, stainless steel, stone inside. His is a homemade, all masonry, so they're two very different styles. Pizzas come out differently in them. Both are excellent. So we'll give that a try and see how that goes. So hopefully tomorrow night that goes well. I got my new tripod, my new camera, so I got to play with that and see how that works and how that goes. I'm not 100% sure how to use all that equipment yet. Learning as I go. Took me 2 weeks to get everything downstairs for the podcasting and the video Facebook Live, because again, as I added to it, I just kind of added. Once I took it all apart, it was kind of a real pain in the to get it back together. And then I added booms for the mics for 2 of them. I have 4 mics because I do have guests, and I plan on having more guests. But I have some two booms. I had to get them hooked up and figure those out, and they seem to be working pretty well. I'm using mine right now. My wife used my second one, mic 2, last night. Worked out pretty good. The cameras are what I'm nervous about, but I think I should be okay. I got the tripod. We're going to use that. And if all else fails, I'll just go back to the my iPhone. I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max, so it has a very good camera on it to begin with. So if that were if the new camera that I got, the Handycam 4K, it's Handycam 4K something or other. So we'll see how that goes. If I can't get that working and do with some tests, then I'll do the live, not the live, but I'll do the actual video for YouTube and whatnot on phone with the tripod. I got the phone mount for the tripod, so that'll hold that no problem. So yeah, I got a backup plan, and the phone does a pretty good video. So, but let's see. So some other craziness going on. The government is allowing off-site sales of alcohol because of what's going on, trying to help the small businesses stay afloat. I never thought I'd see the day where you have to make a food purchase to qualify, but if you order a large pizza, you can get like 5 margaritas delivered with the pizza. Kind of weird, kind of cool, kind of different. I know. So that's something that's out of the box. I never thought I'd see. Also, we got pizza trucks out there now who are offering to do like ice cream man type of stuff, where they're coming, they're in certain towns on certain days and certain times, and you can set up an appointment and tell them what to order your pizza. And I don't know if they're making it while they drive, or if it's in the oven while they drive, or they pull up to your house and they hand you the pizza right from the truck, where they're making it basically in your driveway, or at least en route to your house, which is another really cool thing. I don't know how they're making money with it, because if you're driving around and you're kind of like making delivering pizza at the same time, you got fuel costs, you got labor costs, insurance costs. It's a little different than an ice cream man, I would imagine. I don't think they're not driving around playing music and have people come running out for the pizza man. But who knows? Maybe somebody will do that. I don't know. I know there's a minimum purchase order for a couple of them. I think $60 or $50, something like that. Again, this is what I hate to say I live for, but I love when you have events, positive events and negative events. I just think that the two are just, they're synonymous. You have to, you're never going to have all good, never going to have all bad. It's just the way life goes. But when you have something like this going on, it's just this event is just a, it's kind of like, trying to think of a good descriptive word for it. It's epic. What's going on is an epic time. And I don't mean epic as in it's because it's really good or really bad. It's just the scope of it. It's just a massive, massive thing. Something like 600 and some odd people died in the last 24 hours worldwide. So it's again, it's just an awesome news event. And again, I'm not using awesome as in a positive thing. I'm just using awesome as a descriptive term to say that the scope of it, for people to realize there's like 10,000 people 25 minutes away in New York with this virus. I know there's a couple hundred people in Connecticut. I know there was 6 or 7 or 8 that were tested in the local hospital right not too far from 20 minutes from my house. They got tested positive just yesterday, according to the news. So, I mean, and it's constantly evolving, and I've been kind of keeping up with it and listening to the doctors and the CDC and the HWO, and and I know this is a pizza podcast, but it's just one of those things it's like, it's, I don't know if it's to the magnitude of 9/11 because that was just basically a strictly United States event, and this is kind of global. But I mean, we're gonna surpass the number of people who died from Corona or COVID-19 on 9/11. I mean, we're gonna pass those numbers. There would be more people who died if they haven't already. So it makes the magnitude of this event bigger, I think, because it's a silent killer. You don't know if you got it, when you're gonna get it, if you're gonna get it, and who gave it to you for the most part. So it's because you may not have no symptoms. So it'd be like doing a podcast about pizza the day after, 9/12, and you just can't have it strictly for pizza. It's tough. So I ordered. I stocked up my freezer. As I do is I order cheese from a pizza place where I'm friends with the owner, and he's just such an amazing guy. And he lets me order whatever I need to order, and I just pay him for whatever the cost is. I tried to give him extra, and he won't take it. So I went and got I think 40 pounds of mousse. And not only did I pay him just for the cost of it, but he actually paid his guys when they shredded his cheese to shred mine for me too. So I got 40 pounds cheese. I got a 46-pound block or 43-pound block of cheese, and he shredded it for me for nothing, and that's awesome. And he also will make my dough for me because I can't make a big batch of it at once. I only have a small KitchenAid mixer, which is great for if you're having your family and maybe another family of 4, 4 kids, 4 adults. Make a couple batches. A batch into a dough and rises. It's the perfect amount. It's not a big deal. But if you're going to have more than that, or if you want last minute stuff, you can't. It's tough. The dough is the hardest part. Most pizza places don't make dough same day. It doesn't taste the same if you do. Especially my recipe, the one I use, it needs to sit overnight, but it freezes amazingly well. So he made a batch of dough for me, and I think I ended up getting 48 or 58 portions of dough. And he separates them all, puts them in the pizza boxes. I put home, 4 or 5 boxes full of dough, and they're balls. They're not, they're not into the. I call them when they're flat and they're ready to be stretched out. I call them skins. They're not skins. They're balls. I take them and I bag them up. I take he cuts them into 2 sizes for me. I have his small, the same portion he uses for a small dough, and that's my larger pizza. It makes about anywhere from a 12 to a 16-inch pie, depending on how thin you want to roll the dough out and what I'm making. If I'm making a heavier pizza, it'll be a little smaller, so it's a little more stability. I'm making a lighter pizza, and obviously I'm making more of a thin crust. And I can adjust the heat in my oven to reflect that. When I'm making it outside with the wood oven, I can use the bigger logs to keep the heat steady at a lower temperature. And I can add smaller logs to fire, get a mixed flame going, and get the fire heated up quickly, and then let it die down so I can get a higher heat in there. So I have plenty of both sizes. I buy the wood pre-split, but I have one of those little 5-ton, 110-volt electric splitters, which will take the logs that I get from the place I purchased my wood from, and it'll allow me to split them into like little 1 inch and 2 inch and 3 inch and 4 inch diameter logs from the 8-10 inch diameter logs I get from the guy. And I get them around 12 inches in length, which is a little smaller than the 16 to 18 you usually get. But the guy that I get them from usually accommodates that, no problem. He kind of lets me go through and pick out what I want from his pile, and then he charges me for a truckload from my truck, which is he added $25. We tried it last time, so it wasn't a big deal. And that's my larger dough. Back to the dough, and then he cuts them into which is the portion he uses for calzone. And I'm not sure what the measurements are. I've never asked because the first time I needed dough in a hurry, I went down there and bought his dough, and those are the 2 sizes I got, and they worked perfectly for me for what I do. So I never questioned how many ounces it was for a dough each. I don't know if it's like a 5 and 8. It's somewhere probably around a 5 and 8 or 6 and 9. Somewhere in that I would gander in that vicinity. So I got the downstairs freezer filled with dough and cheese. My sauce is really easy to make. It's I use a couple different types of tomato. Canned, obviously. I don't use fresh. I do a fresh tomato pie in the summertime when I have my garden in full bloom. My garden, which is pretty good sized garden, it's like 24 by 20. and it's half tomatoes. I think I did like 16 plants last year, and I get those orange Homer buckets from Home Depot. I get, I don't know, at least 2 dozen buckets full of tomatoes every year. I just give them away. I don't. My family doesn't like tomatoes all that much. I do. I'm the only one. My kids won't eat tomatoes, raw tomatoes or fresh tomatoes. My wife really won't eat them either. She's starting to come around now. Now that she's getting I don't want to say older, but as she's aging, she's still in her 30s, still a young thing. But she's starting to like them a little more. But she only likes to garden fresh tomatoes, which is great because what I have during the wintertime when you get the hothouse tomatoes and stuff, it's not the same. So, so she, but I don't think she likes them on a pie. So I'll make a fresh tomato pie with some pesto and some different cheeses, and I play around with it during the summertime when they're in. But during the rest of the year, I use a couple of varieties of tomatoes. Basically, different manufacturers or different producers. I'll either mix them, depending on what I'm doing. I can change the flavor of the sauce by it's the same pretty much recipe, except for I will change the tomatoes up. Sometimes I use all of one brand. Sometimes I use three brands. Sometimes I use just like A and B, C. Sometimes I just use all A, all B. I never use all C, but I'll mix it in. C is a little more acidic, so I don't want to use just C. It's not. I've tried it once; it didn't go very well, so I don't do that. But I keep the cans in the cupboard. The sauce does make a larger batch if you're using 3 cans, if you're using all 3 flavors. So I have extra when I do that, and I have basically those Chinese soup containers you get. I'll put them in there while I'm working with them, and then I just put the lid on them and pop them in the freezer. So if people come over in my house and they show up last minute, I can, pretty much throw down some pizzas in a half hour to an hour. Depends on how long it takes the sauce and the weather outside. If it's been raining, the wood's a little wet sometimes. I have to get the dry that I have going, and then, simple fire starting stuff. But it's always, I always have pizza boxes from takeout. So I always use the pizza boxes from takeout. How I start my fire with the pizza boxes from the day or two before. Seems to work out the best as the cardboard to get it going. So I've stocked up in case we are kind of like on lockdown and they do shut the pizza places down. But I use it all summer anyway, so I'll go through that between now and probably June. I'll restock up again sometime in June. Is usually how I work it. But I actually went back down to his place today because I went to a Restaurant Depot the other day to get chicken because nobody has chicken right now. You can't get chicken. I went to the grocery store. I didn't really need to stock up on stuff because I'm not one of those like end of the world preppers, but I always have a full cupboard and full freezer full of food. We don't usually, go to get the food down too low. Plus, when we do our taxes every February, we kind of restock and we replace the ketchups and the mustards. They've been there all year, and if they're not empty by now, they're usually close or whatever. So if they're not really close to full, we toss them, get new ones. We stock up on paper towels. We get like 3 packs from Costco. Same thing with the toilet paper. So we had 72 something rolls of each or close to that. So we were pretty stacked up. I just wanted to get some chicken because I don't like the chicken to freeze for too long because chicken that freezes for a long time, it gets freezer burned really easily in my experience, compared to steak or pork. And so I usually let it go a week or 2 or 3, maybe in the freezer at the most. So we were getting low. And I went to Stu Leonard's, went to ShopRite, I went to Stop and Shop, Big Y. Every time I went to a store, they had no chicken. They had corned beef. They had some sausage. Everyone had chitlins. Ham hocks. I saw those smoked pig's feet, things like that. But they didn't have any chicken. So I took I went up to Restaurant Depot and to see if I could get some chicken up there. And sure as shit, none. They were out. At the day I went there, they were out too. So I called up my buddy and I said, hey, any chance you can get me a case of chicken? He goes, well, I got them coming in on Friday. Like I said, today's Friday night. So he's like, yeah. And a friend of mine needed some too. And I didn't really want 40 pounds of chicken because that's what a case is. But there's 4 10-pound bags in each case. So I was able to take a bag myself. And then I guess she eats chicken a lot. It's her and her daughter and I guess her father. So I was able to give her the other 3 bags. And she was able to, I guess, break it up and freeze it or whatever. They're hers, so she can do what she wants with them. So, crazy times. I mean, you never thought you'd see people fighting over toilet paper and chicken. I mean, take it for granted. You go to the grocery store and they always have paper towels, toilet paper, and chicken. But they don't have any paper towels, toilet paper, and chicken. So, it is what it is, I guess. And, I hope everybody gets what they need. We'll get through this. It's not going to be the end of the world. We'll overcome it. The whole 9 yards. So some places, back to the places. There's a lot of places that are hurt right now because they're just not seeing the business. I know my friend's shop. He's telling me today he's been a little busier today than he has been, but he's been slow all week, and he's hoping that by the end of the week he'll be able to turn a small profit. He'll at least break even. That's the kind of the feeling I'm getting from a lot of places. At least break even. I know. I talked to several owners, and they're all saying the same thing. See who else did. And there's some places that never did delivery before, and they're starting to do delivery just to do this. So they're having some hang-ups and some issues with getting delivery under the way because they never did it. They didn't have to. They had plenty of people coming in and eating at the restaurant. Locally, places like Retro, I think it's Grub and Pub, or Pub and Grub. I always get it backwards, but so I'll say it both ways. But they're doing delivery now. They've always had pickup. They have a rather large seating area, and they usually do live music. They've done comedy nights, and there's a bar area. And they can't use any of that, so it's just pickup and delivery. So a place like that has a rent because they have a seating capacity for, I would imagine, 150 people maybe. I would guess if they use both rooms. I know it's one of the larger dining rooms for the local pizza places. Another guy like Tipsy Tomato and Derby. I know they do delivery, but their biggest complaint people have had last couple months about them is the wait to sit to the table and their bar area, and nothing, can't do it, But I know a lot of these places. I've talked to these owners, and I really, really, really got to give these guys a lot of credit. They're trying to adapt. They're trying to overcome. They're doing the best they can. I know that every owner I've talked to is trying their hardest to keep their entire staff on board as long as they can, including the wait staff who they don't need. I know a couple places have their wait staff, and I know on one particular place took their I don't want to throw too many names out there because I don't want to see that I'm favoritism, being favoritism over one place or the other. But they're keeping their entire wait staff on as long as they can, and they're paying them what they would get typically in tips too, as well, salary wise, or as close to as they can. I'm sure the wait staff got some extra tips and cash and whatnot over the last few months, and they haven't they don't claim it. I'm guessing, and I'm not saying anybody's a tax cheat, but I'm assuming. And if that's the case, then they're giving them trying to give them as close to what they got on the books as they were getting, and they're paying them to clean the restaurants, to disinfect, clean, scrub everything. Some of them are even delivering. So if you guys are listening, if anybody's listening to this podcast and it's just still going on, if you do delivery, tip them. I know it's tough, and we're all probably, a lot of people are losing their jobs and getting cut back on hours and getting cut back on pay. So if you can't do it, it's what it is. You can't do it. I get that. But if you're one of the fortunate ones where your job hasn't been affected and your way of life, as far as monetarily, hasn't been affected, think of the money you're saving right now because you can't go spend it anywhere. Think of the money you're saving because you can't go to the movies. You can't go to the mall. You can't go to the store. There's nobody open to take your money. So you probably are actually saving a few extra dollars right now because you're not spending on entertainment. That trip that you were planning isn't going to happen. So, give them a few extra bucks if you can. That's just so you don't have to donate to those charities to make yourself feel better or because it's the right thing to do. If you give a $5 tip for a delivery, maybe give a $6 tip. Maybe give her a $7 tip. If they deliver 20 pies a night or 20 stops a night and everybody does $2 more, that's, an extra $40. It goes a long way for someone who, a lot of these waitstaff people, it's their part-time job. They have a full-time job, and we don't know. Maybe they lost their full-time job. Maybe they're working in an office and they're not an essential worker and they got sent home and they're furloughed or they're laid off and they haven't got unemployment yet or they don't qualify for it. Or, something along those lines. So you don't know what everybody's deal is. So if you can afford to do it, do it. If you can afford to, throw extra couple bucks, go for it. I'm sure it's greatly appreciated. I'm sure anybody who gets a bigger tip nowadays would greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure it goes a lot farther. These people are working just like everybody else is, and they're trying to pay their bills, and I would say they're trying to put their kids through the gymnastics and the little leagues, but and the ice skating lessons and tennis lessons and all that. But I know firsthand, since my kids are out, ice skating is canceled, and the gymnastics, all the nationals, the regionals, and the state competitions have all been canceled. So you don't have that to say they're paying for right now. But I mean, I wouldn't imagine if those places are still charging them their monthly fees, since they're not doing. I know mine, for my daughters, aren't. They said that they're not going to be charging. They're just going to kind of pause it. So if you got 3 weeks and you're owed 3 weeks, then when you start up again, you'll be owed 3 weeks still. They're not going to charge you for the weeks that they're not on, which is, I think, the right thing to do as well. But it's also hurting them, their businesses. So you can't win right now. But hopefully, people do the right thing. Hopefully the government steps up and helps everybody out. But in the meantime, Pizzaholics, the group on Facebook's here. Come check us out if you're not a member already. If you're checking us out just because you've seen the podcast, we're here. We're trying to keep it as much pizza as possible. Try to give people a way to escape, check things out, see them, see the great delicious pies. What's everybody doing? Who's still serving, who's selling, who's doing curbside, who's doing pickup, who's doing regular takeout. All that. Happy horse ass. We're here for all that stuff. So. Come check us out. Join the group. Post things. Talk to people. I'd love to get some more members outside of the tri-state area. I know we have members in like 26 countries. I'd love to expand that some more. I'm sure it'll happen over time. It takes time. Right now the group's very tri-state area, heavy Connecticut type of a thing. But I know over time it'll grow a little more. Hopefully anyway, it'll grow a little more. I just coughed. I don't know how that worked. I turned the microphone down. I gotta get a cough button so I can just hit the button. I don't know how to set one up, but I've heard of them. I think that's about it for tonight. I might go on Facebook Live, but again, you're hearing this after that, so who knows if I did or didn't. Anything else I want to say? If anybody's listening to this podcast, you can reach me at Ron at IamAPizzaholic.com. That's RON at IamAPizzaholic.com. If you have any suggestions for the show, or you want to maybe come on the show, or if you have any technical knowledge on how to work microphones and cameras, as I'm learning as I go, I'm a pretty smart guy. And I'm sure I can figure it out over time, but if somebody already has the knowledge, a lesson or two would be greatly appreciated. So if that's the case, then, Ron at IamPizzaholic.com. If you have any questions or comments, that'd be awesome. I'd like to get this to the point where I get emails all the time and I can read them and answer questions on emails. Who knows? Maybe we can get a phone number at some time and do a voicemails type of thing. I've seen other podcasts, they do voicemail shows and stuff. I know I'm not there yet. I only get about 1,000 to 1,500 of you guys listening every week or whenever I do a podcast. I think the last one I did was 1,800. So hopefully it keeps growing. I mean, I know this, it'd be awesome if it did. So spread the word if you like the podcast. I know this one's a little bit more different than the last 3 or so I did. Plus, I'm getting used to this. I'm new to this. First 3 were done upstairs in my living room, sitting on my couch. Now I'm downstairs with a table, computer set up properly. Kind of looks like a little mini studio, at least in my mind. I got laughed at when I said that last night because I could reach out and touch a pile of dirty laundry, and on the other side, touch a pile of clean laundry. But I mean, I don't have a huge house, so this is where I'm at the moment. I do have a spot picked out in my house, in the back of my garage, where I have room to make a little studio. But at the moment, I'm not going to spend any more money on this stuff until this whole economy and world gets kind of back under control, just in case my job gets affected by it and I have to start living off of my emergency funds in my savings. I have a few months worth, but I don't want to fall short because I spent $1,000 or so on top of the money I've already spent on this equipment making a studio. It's just not the right time for it. So, but if anybody wants to come over and do it and they want to spend the money, by all means, I'll take another sponsor. Which brings me to this point. I do have a sponsor for this episode, which happens to be the Tipsy Tomato over on New Haven Avenue, which is Route 34 in Derby, Connecticut. They were gracious enough to sponsor a couple of the podcasts, which was actually nice because wasn't a huge deal. So if anybody other places want to sponsor, like I said, I get between 1,500 and almost 2,000 listens, downloads and listens. within about a week or so of the podcast. So if anybody else wants to interested in that, let me know. You can reach out again at Ron at IamAPizzaholic.com. I was able to actually buy the 2 booms for the program, and then a couple other little things. So like I said, it wasn't a lot, but it was able to get me the next step, and would love to keep going bigger steps, and hopefully with better equipment and bigger steps, and I can get more guests, which is coming up. I can move on and expand, and maybe get to the 5 to 10,000 people per episode, where then I can do a voicemail type of thing or whatever. Who knows? We'll see where it goes. I enjoy doing it. Seems like people enjoy listening because I get more downloads after every episode. So I would imagine that's a positive. If people didn't like it, they wouldn't tune into the next one. So we'll see where it goes. So on that note, I am going to close the show tonight, and hope everybody has a stay safe, stay healthy, be vigilant, do what they're telling us to do. I know we don't want to. I know it sucks. It's an inconvenience for everybody. There's nobody that's not inconvenienced. But look at it this way. If your grandparents' lives get saved for a couple inconveniences, like not being able to go out and having to wash your hands and social distancing, if your grandparents get saved because of it, or your loved one gets saved from it, isn't it worth it? And if you're someone who doesn't have any family left, or you're the only one, if you could have had this inconvenience to bring them back or to save them and have them here today, I'm sure you'd do it. So I have a grandfather who's in his mid-90s, and my grandmother who's, doesn't like to say her age, but she's not as old as my grandfather. I'll just put it that way. But they're comparable. It's not a May December thing. So, if I want them here forever, they're 2 of my most favorite people on the planet, and so if the little things you do can help make that happen, and if the little things I can do helps to keep your family safe and healthy, it's worth it. It's inconvenient. I know it's not fun, but just we gotta suck it up. We gotta do it. I'm a big into this is all blown out of proportion kind of a thing, but if we save one life, you can't measure that. So let's just suck it up. Do it, and see what happens. Let's hope a day after it's all said and done, we look back and say, wow, they blew that out of proportion. Because I'd rather have them blown out of proportion and save a few lives and look back on, why didn't we do more? We could have saved so many lives because we didn't take it seriously. The error one way is we get inconvenienced and we get pissed off. The error the other way is irreversible. Too many people are gone, and we don't need that. So stay I can't say it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great night, everybody.